Thanks for pressing play. This is Christopher Lochhead, Follow Your Different, where we aspire to have real dialogues, not over-edited interviews with the amazing people who are making our world a different place. We're sponsored by Oracle NetSuite. Learn how to turbocharge the growth of your business and get a free 1-hour growth review with an expert in your industry today at netsuite.com/different. I also want to tell you about my friends at One Life Fully Lived. This is a nonprofit helping you dream, plan, and live your best life. I've been involved with this organization, frankly, since before it was an organization. And I want to invite you to our annual conference, October 12th and 13th, 2019, in beautiful Long Beach, California. Speakers include billionaire entrepreneur Jeff Hoffman, venture capitalist Cody Sanchez, and best-selling author John Vroman, and myself, just to name a few. So go to onelifefullylived.org today/clockhead for more information. On this episode, the truly wonderful Ken Honda. He's authored over 50 books, and as I said off the top, he's sold over 8 million of them in his home country of Japan. To say he's a big damn deal there is a massive understatement. We have a riveting conversation about how to have a powerful relationship with money. And, most conversations you hear in our world about money are how to make money, how to manage money, how to budget, how to plan these things. This conversation is more about the role of money in your life and your relationship with money. And I loved having it. And I think you're going to love listening to it. Go to lochhead.com for the show notes and key takeaways and more on Ken Honda and his amazing new book. Now, hey ho, let's go. So let's get into this book. What do you mean by happy money?
So happy money is money that makes you smile when you receive it and also gives you joy when you spend it. So in other words, when you think of that money, I'm so happy. That's happy money. Like this morning, I watched the CNN and I didn't get the name, but African-American, very wealthy person, he made a speech and he's going to take care of all the college loans for many hundred kids, hundreds of graduates, right? That's happy money. He doesn't get anything out of doing that, but he must feel so happy to lift off all the burden from senior students, from college loan, which is killing many young people.
Yes. So that's happy money.
Yes, it is. Exactly.
Now, it's interesting because, and maybe it's different in Japan, you'll tell me. Here, the money books that I tend to see, and maybe I'm only seeing a certain kind, I'm certainly not an expert in this area, but my general impression, Ken, is that most of the books we have about money here are generally, in one way or another, how to make money.
Yes,
Some
that's
of them
true.
are how to invest money, how to save money. There's books about budgeting. And so, but most of them deal with, if I could put it this way, the mechanics of money.
Yes.
You've written a book, and you tell me how you think about it, but the way I thought about it is this is really about my relationship with money.
That's true.
Is that how you feel, or how do you feel about this book?
I'm often called money healer, and I feel so honored to be called that way. Now, I heal people's relationship with money. So I teach financial independence too, but I focus more on how to heal your relationship with money. We have such a terrible relationship with money. We worry so much. We feel bad. We feel so frustrated with money in general. So unless we heal our relationship with money, we cannot have a healthy life because we are so restricted because of money issues. And it's not in the US, it's in Japan, China, India, Africa, Europe, all over the world. We are so frustrated with money situation.
Yes. And so I have thought this for a long time. And sometimes people look at me with a crazy tilt or a crazy look in their eye when I say to them, it's about your relationship with money. It's not actually about money.
Yes.
And I almost feel like they look at me like, no, what are you talking about? And here's what I found, that I know ski and surf bums who live on very little money, and surf and ski every day and have a great time and enjoy their life.
Yes.
And maybe they would want for a few more things, but in general are very happy and have enough money to fund the kinds of things they want in their lives. And they seem
Yes.
generally happy. So I
Mm-hmm.
know that and I know billionaires who are miserable. I
Mm-hmm.
remember years ago, Ken, I knew this guy who I don't know exactly how much he was worth, but roughly $100 million. There's a lot of
Yes.
wealthy people in Silicon Valley. And he was complaining to me about how much he and his wife fight.
Yes.
And I said to him, we'll just call him Jim. I said, well, Jimmy, what do you guys fight about? And he says, we fight about money constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost fell over. I'm like, I know you're worth about 100. I didn't say this to him, but you're like, what
Yeah.
could you fucking possibly be fighting about money about other than maybe where to give it? Um, and it was in moments like these over time, I learned that it really is often not about how much money you have or don't have, but it's about our
Mhm.
relationship with money.
Yes.
And so you write about how people have money wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it so many of us have, a less than positive or less than powerful relationship with money?
It's because all of us are hurt in one way or another. Like financially challenged people have a hard time dealing with money because they cannot make both ends meet. So they feel shame around money. And middle class people feel that they're so frustrated with money because they are making both ends meet, but it's barely, So they feel frustrated. And upper middle class people are also feeling that somebody's taking advantage of them. That's why they're working so hard. They graduate from good college, but they have to pay back the loan and mortgages. Something is wrong. So like they feel also frustrated. And the wealthy people feel funny guilt around money, and so everywhere and everyone feels somewhat frustrated with money. So that's why we are so controlled by money. In other words, from a different perspectives. So when you have enough money in the bank, probably you don't have to worry about it. That's what a lot of people think. But as you said about Jimmy, even though you have millions of dollars in your bank account, it's nothing to do with your happiness. So you don't have to have a lot of money in the bank to be happy. So if you can somehow heal your money wounds and transform your relationship with money, you can be happy forever. It takes a little practice, but not too much.
I so love, I think you're doing awesome work, and I'm so stoked about this book. There's this expression that I've loved for years. Do you
Hmm.
own your money or does it own you?
Yes, exactly.
And many of us, and at points in my life, this was true for me. It hasn't been true for quite some time, but because I think today I have a pretty healthy relationship with money. Not always, but in general.
Hmm. Beautiful.
But there were certain points in my life, Ken, where I felt more owned by money. And I learned a few things along the line that sort of got me unstuck from that. But I'm
Hmm.
curious if I was somebody who felt like I had money wounds and I
Hmm.
didn't have a healthy relationship with money, that I was,
Yeah.
in one of these places that you just described, or maybe some other place, but I was generally disempowered by money. Where would you guide me to start to heal my quote unquote money wounds?
Yeah. So one of my mentors is Mr. Wahei Takeda, who's called Warren Buffett of Japan. I had the fortune of meeting him in person. So I asked him, what is the secret to wealth and happiness? And he said, there's only one thing. Arigato, your money. Thank you, money. And I just didn't get it. Like, Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid tells you, walks in, walks out, it's the same thing. When the money comes in, arigato. When money goes out, also arigato. So in other words, money coming in and money going out. If you start practicing this, you focus on appreciation. And once you focus on appreciation, you feel distracted from money worries. Because he said, if you focus on gratitude, you cannot worry at the same time because human mind can focus only one thing at a time. So start appreciating what you have in your mind, in your life. But by doing that, you begin to feel more gratitude, and that it opens a door to healing. But unless you find some gratitude about your life, you feel always frustrated. And after that, there are a few things that you can do next. But gratitude is a first key, and anybody can do that. It doesn't really matter how much you have in your bank account.
Now, what if I'm in this more sort of shame, frustrated place? I could hear you
Mhm.
talk and say, well, that sounds great. And you have this wonderful Zen vibe to you. And you're this
Mhm.
guru from Japan and stuff. And
Yeah.
so it sounds awesome. But, the truth is, Ken, um,
Yes.
I am having a hard time making ends meet. And I feel,
Yes.
I think a lot of people, and I have felt this way at times in my life as well, we
Mhm.
feel a slave to money, right? Well, we got to pay the
Yes.
rent and we got to, and so we're trying to make ends meet, but at the same time, we're quote unquote trying to get ahead. We want to save for our retirement. In my case, I don't have children, but if you have children, then there's a huge
Mhm.
and so I think a lot of people, I watched this documentary recently on people who have become sort of extreme in what do they call it? The minimalists, where
Yes.
they live in tiny houses and they only have
Uh-huh.
like one pair of pants and, like they have very little of everything and
Yeah.
they like enjoy themselves much more. And so I guess my point in this is I think some people can feel like they're a victim to it, like they've got to keep
Mhm.
feeding this monster and they can't get past some point, and so they're angry and frustrated and pissed off, and they could get angry at the system, and it could lead to a bunch of negativity. And so if I'm in one of these
Yes.
more negative places and I feel somewhat a victim of having to make money, how
Mhm.
would you guide me then?
It's just the numbers. Even if you have a hard time making both ends meet, just breathe in deep and then relax. Because if you cannot make both ends meet, you're not going to be dead, but you feel like you're going to die. So that is why we associate money with for survival. First of all, we have to detach money from survival. Uh, you know, uh, a lot of us worry so much, and then we feel without money we're going to be dead. We won't die. The worst case scenario, you end up with no money, but that doesn't kill you. Money worry kills you, or the fear of not having money kills you. So real security lies in not in money, but the trust in the future. And if you have enough good friends, even if you have a hard time making both ends meet, they're going to help you. So I think real insurance, if you want to have some, is security in people. I always say in my seminar, if you have 50 friends who let you stay for a week, you are okay, because start just staying with the first friend and second, and after 52 weeks you can go back to your friend number one and say long time no
If
see.
you have 52 friends, you don't need an Airbnb. You don't need to pay rent.
Right. Right. So just an idea. So
So that
once
if I could interrupt you, are
yeah.
you saying we confuse money and security,
Yes.
and that real security comes from our friends and our relationships, the people in our lives?
Yes. And we are so afraid that money is the source of security, but it's not. Your friends will be. So, for example, one by one, you have to release fear and anxiety around money, because money is not the source of your fear. Money doesn't guarantee your security. Unless you understand basic principles around money and emotions, you feel like you have to have money. That's why you cannot start living your true life. So
Yes.
you have to heal your shame, anxiety, fear, and worry about money. And that's the first step. Unless you do that, it's just a strange automatic mechanism you go into panic, and you have a hard time breathing. I can't do anything. But then, if you relax, things happen, and nobody dies of not making both ends meet. But worries kill you.
It's such a fascinating insight. And I do want to talk to you about,
Yes.
and if I'm saying it wrong, please help me. Karoshi.
Karoshi, yes.
Where you work yourself to death. But before we get there, in chapter 2, Ken, you make this, what I think is incredibly important distinction between money IQ and money EQ.
Yes.
And as we were talking about at the beginning, I think most books, most things I hear about money are on the IQ dimension. And look, is it important to understand how, your taxes work and how investments work and how you should budget and how you should, spend less than you make, and, all the good mechanical things. Those things, of course, are incredibly important.
Yes.
But you're one of the few people I see really talking about the emotional side. So could you sort of explain what you mean by money EQ?
So money EQ is the one I found out in my 20s. I realized that there are so many smart people making bad choices in their financial life, and they go bankrupt. And I didn't get it. They're the smartest people, coming from the top university, but make lousy choices. And I realized that they're messed up emotionally. That's why I made bizarre decisions around money. And then I realized that unless you have a healthy relationship emotionally, you cannot be wealthy and happy at the same time. So I came up with this 4 principles of money EQ. Number 1 is receive well. We have a hard time receiving money, receiving kindness, receiving support from people. All of us are so happy to give, but we have a hard time in receiving. So that's number 1, and we're not a good receiver to begin with. And number 2 is appreciate money. Appreciation, gratitude, and also appreciating what money is, because money can be such a convenient Superman type of power that gives you plane tickets, gives you hotels, place to live, and you can support your friends and causes with money. So if you can appreciate money, you feel like you want more. So that's EQ number 2. And EQ number 3 is to trust. This is the hardest one for all. Most of the money worries and fears is because we don't have enough trust for our future. So our issue is not trusting the money flow. It's just trusting the future. So if you can trust our life, that somebody is going to take care of us if we fall, we feel so relaxed and start following our true calling. So this trust the money flow in life is super important. That's number 3. And the last one, number 4, is share your money. Like the African American billionaire did. If you have enough, you will find joy in sharing. And the more you share, the happier you get. It doesn't really matter. You give $1 to a Salvation Army or $100 million. It's the same feeling that you get to share what you have, and then that gives you joy.
Yes, it's an extraordinary thing to be at a place in life where you can share money. And again, you don't have to be wealthy. You can share a very small amount of money that can bring a smile to somebody's face, or you can share a lot of money if you have more money. But regardless of the size, my wife and I years ago around Christmas time started to do things like, leave an extraordinary large tip or, at a coffee shop or at a restaurant. Or if you sort of ran into like a fast food restaurant for a quick lunch or something, hand the person behind the cash $100 and say, please buy everybody behind me their lunch.
Wow, that's nice.
Little things along these lines. So we started to do it around the Christmas holiday. And then we had this aha, Ken, which is, why not just do that whenever?
Yeah.
And so we don't
That's a
have to
great
wait
idea.
for the holidays. And so anyway, my point is, it's not like we do it all day, every day, but it's
Hmm.
now more in the front of our minds. And I'll tell you, when you give a server in a restaurant, by way of example, $100 tip, just cause, I mean, you're the kind of guy who's very in tune with this stuff, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's a transformative thing for both of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it gives both the giver and the receiver at the same time. That's
Well,
what happy money does.
we had incredible author Sebastian Younger on the podcast a while back. He wrote The Perfect Storm, if you know that book, which became a
Hmm.
movie. And his most recent book is a wonderful book called Tribe. It's all about how human beings need connections and community and so forth. It's a fascinating, spectacular. Anyway, one of the things he shared with me, Ken, is he quoted several studies that showed, in terms of the chemicals in our brain, the dopamine and other kind of reward oriented chemicals we get from doing positive things in the world, that
Hmm.
the giver gets more than the receiver.
I agree.
Yeah. So let me make sure we got the four here. So receive well,
Hmm.
appreciate and have gratitude,
Yes. Hmm.
trust, in particular,
Yeah.
trust in the future that you're going to be okay.
Right.
And the fourth one, which we've been on, which maybe is my favorite, is the share one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The other thing on the share one that's wonderful is if you get to a place in life where you can share with friends and family who particularly get into a challenging spot.
Hmm.
And I've had the opportunity, over the last year or so, to have several friends and family members who, for one reason or another in life, were in a bit of a challenging spot. And when
Hmm.
you can ease somebody's pain, when you can help a sick friend who now isn't going to have to worry about that part, but can focus on money, or somebody making a transition in their life from, one thing to another, and there's some risk associated, whatever it is, right? These
Hmm.
various situations that we have friends and family in. If you're in a position to alleviate some of that,
Hmm.
um, it really is an extraordinary thing.
Yes. Yeah. So, I always enjoy giving people money, and also I ask my students to do the same thing. And my vision is about this happy money thing is that if all of us, middle class and above, start sharing 10% of what we have and what we make to something, a good cause, or people who are in need, we're going to solve most of our problems on this planet. It doesn't need half of our money. It's probably like 5% of what we have. So if we can create the flow of happy money to make this planet work, we can change our planet in 1 month. But
Yes.
we have to have this planetary shift in consciousness about money. That's why I'm so excited about writing this book. So
Yes.
I don't need anything financially anymore, but this is my contribution to the world. And then along the way, if you transform your relationship with money, you have a totally different life, because once you feel secure about life, you then wonder, I was so scared and stuck with where I was. But once I'm free of money, it's not like I'm a millionaire, but, maybe I can do something that uh, that's been in my mind for many years. Maybe I'll follow my heart. But that's what I did 18 years ago, started writing books. And then, I've been enjoying my life so much more than I was being an accountant.
Now,
Accountant.
I've heard you say, but I'd love to hear it directly from you,
Uh-huh.
that it was your wife getting pregnant with your daughter. Am I remembering this
Yeah.
right? That first had
Yes.
you sort of move away from your accounting career and take a step
Yeah. I
back?
thought, just about a few weeks was my original idea. But after a few weeks, I really enjoyed it. So I extended to a month and 2 months and 3 months. And I started to speak very slowly. My friends worry about me because I was speaking like this. And then because, I had nothing else to do. And then that 1 month extended to be 4 years of retirement. And during the full retirement, I had the opportunity to watch my daughter speak, stand. I've seen all kinds of fun stuff that any father would probably dream of. But usually when a young father has a baby, they'll be so hard, busy making a living. So I was very fortunate to do that.
Ken?
Yes.
Oh, I thought there was a bump in the internet there.
Okay.
But that also afforded you the time to think about what you wanted to do next, and that led to writing your first book, did it not?
Yes, and during the semi-retirement, I had a dream when my daughter was about 2, I think. In my dream, she was like 18 or 19, piercing everywhere. She became like a rebellious, teenager, and she said to me, "Daddy, you may have little money, but you're not contributing to the world. That's so embarrassing." And then I just woke up, and then my daughter was 2. And I made up my mind one day, I'll just do something to contribute to the world so my daughter will be so proud. So I didn't know what to do, but a couple of years later, I found my true passion, which is to inspire people around money.
And you set off to write 55 books about it.
I never thought I'd become a writer. When I thought of becoming a writer, I went to a bookstore and just did a quiz on the book, How to Become an Author. And when you were a child, did you like, reading the book? No. Can you name like 20 famous authors? No. And I scored 0 in this, like you're, how likely you'll be an author. And then my short dream, my dream of becoming an author was just ended after 5 minutes, and took me another year to really start writing.
Wow.
So if you have a book in your hand, I encourage you to start writing.
Yes.
That's what I did.
It's interesting. I never thought I'd be an author. I have dyslexia. And so even reading for me is challenging. And, I've now written 2 books, and I couldn't agree with you more. If you're somebody who feels like you have that in you, doing it is an extraordinary thing. And I will write a 3rd book.
Please.
Yeah, it really is a wonderful gift. And I'm so blown away. Your writing style it is such an excellent book you've written. And to think that it's your first book in English. So Ken, I wanted to also ask you, you've broken this, the 6 reasons people want money down in a very interesting way.
Right.
Can you walk me through maybe a couple of these that you think you'd like to highlight?
Yeah. The reason why everybody wants money is like we tie in our psychological, in our mind, we tie security with money. If we have money, we feel secure. So, but that's a bad thing to do, because without money, we feel insecure. But a lot of people do that. That's why we cannot leave the job we don't like. And we fight over money because your partner always spends in a bizarre way. I've done a lot of couple counseling, and I have all the funny stories to share that your husband or wife, usually have a different spending pattern that just irritates you so much. So once you just tie money with security, that is the cause of all the trouble in your life.
Yeah. And so one of the ones you mention here that I think is very interesting is to get back at others.
Yes, that's what we are so good at. Since we have money wounds from childhood, we want to just feel good about having control over money. That's why we spend too much. That's why we become so pretentious. When we go to a store, I talk to thousands of people every time, and I ask people, be honest, how many of you have done shopping because you wanted to look good, for the shopper and attendant, and all of us raise our hands. So we buy things because he or she say, "Wow, that looks so great on you," and even though we don't want to buy it, she looks good, he looks good, and we want to have some respect or like good attention. So we buy things out of that feeling. And then, like I have an acquaintance who is a self-made millionaire, but he was very poor. So whenever he goes to a restaurant, he says, "Bring me the most expensive wine to me." So like those guys.
Yes,
So
I know
he's
those
trying
guys
to impress,
well.
yeah, trying to impress with the expensive sports cars and flashy clothes and all sorts of things. But in fact, you feel so insecure inside. So no matter how expensive, how many bottles of expensive wines you order, you feel like you're miserable inside. But to show off, to show that you're good, you're okay, is killing you.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah, because there is
there
no
is
gain.
part of me, the sort of uh, street fighting punk rock part of me. There is
Mhm.
part of me that loves that expression, success is the best revenge, right?
Yes, yes.
And there's also part of me that's like, I got thrown out of school at 18 and, all this sort of stuff. So there's part of me when I go to like speak at Stanford and I walk onto
Uh-huh.
the campus, like I just, in my mind, I'm sort of saying, fuck you to my old school in Montreal that threw me out of
Yes,
school. It's like, yeah,
exactly.
well, I wasn't good enough for you, but I'm good enough to speak at Stanford, you bastards. And so there's a little bit of that maybe there's something wrong with me, Ken, but I think a little
Mhm.
bit of that's okay.
Yeah, I respect you. You're so honest, but not all of us are that honest. So instead, we try to, we have a sneaky way of getting attention from other
Yes, well,
people.
I'm not confused that I'm Mother Teresa.
So we do that all the time. So look around, and when we shop, we do that. So.
Yeah. Now I wanted to go back to this notion of Karoshi if I could, because to me
Mhm.
it's in maybe you'll tell me how you think about it. But
Yeah.
first of all, I've read the definition, but tell me how you think of the word, what it means.
Karoshi means working too much till death, till you fall. And that's a Japanese word, and it's so sad to see it happens. You feel so obligated to work, and then you feel so insecure about money. So you work till you drop, and we don't have to do that. But like a work addiction is the only addiction sort of like acceptable in the world. If you're addicted to drug, sex, and other things, that's bad. But the workaholic is the only kind of acceptable out of all the other addiction. So, but in the essence is that we are so afraid of not making money. We're not doing it right. So that's why we work till we drop. And it's not a healthy attitude to work. And it's not only in Japan, but not being able to leave the work you don't like is also another way of just disturbing your integrity.
Yeah, I mean it's such a horrible thing when we hear people work a 30, 40 year, sometimes 50 year, but certainly 20, 30, 40 year career doing something they didn't like and they were
Mhm.
miserable the whole time.
Yes, and a
It's
lot of people die
heartbreaking.
a few years after their retirement.
Yes. And so this is another reason I think having a conversation about your relationship with money is so important. In
Hmm.
America over the last several years, there's been, particularly in the entrepreneurial self-help world, there's been a lot, this word hustle shows up all the time. You got to hustle, hustle,
Hmm.
hustle. And you
Yeah.
have these um, I call them entrepreneurial porn star guys who are out evangelizing that you got to out hustle everybody and work all
Yeah.
the time. And, nobody ever, I've heard them say this, nobody ever worked themselves, to death. And I look at it and I go, you guys are out of your minds. You don't even know what you're talking about. And here's the
Hmm.
thing that I think is going on. I think we're sort of getting it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, Ken, the purpose of money is so that we can fund the life that we want for ourselves and for others. And there's a real joy that can come with that if we can build a healthy relationship, if we can have happy money.
Yes.
And I know as a man, I don't know what it's like to be a woman. Maybe it's the same, but certainly as a man, I feel a drive to be a protector, to be a provider, and
Mm-hmm.
I also, um, and this, you tell me if this is too esoteric for you, but men that I know who get to about the age of 40, maybe somewhere between 40 and 50,
Mm-hmm.
who have not achieved a level of success in their own mind. That is to say, they don't feel maybe they're as respected by their peers as they would like to be. They don't feel maybe they're as good of a provider to their family as maybe they wanted to be, et cetera. They don't feel they've achieved some of the things in their life that they wanted to. Um, those sorts of things. Men, anyway, who are like that at that age are very broken.
Yes.
And so there's something about being a man, and again, maybe it's true for women. I just don't know that, but where becoming a good provider, feeling like you've achieved some
Mm-hmm.
level of success and respect amongst your peer group who do what you do, that you're generally admired for being good at what your job is, and you can provide for your family and so forth. That this is part of self-actualization, actually. It's
Yes.
part of your own having a healthy life, a successful life. Um, and in that context, the purpose of money is to help those things along the way.
Yes.
And what I wonder is, are we getting it backwards? That is to say, money is a source of all these good things that you write about, and
Yes.
therefore can bring a lot of self actualization and satisfaction in one's life. Um, and that's the purpose of money. When we get stuck and we think the purpose of money is to deal with our wounds, or is to
Yes.
just outwork everybody so that we can win on some scorecard, then we
Mm-hmm.
end up in a more Karoshi mindset. At least that's
Mm.
how I connect these dots. But I'm very, very curious how
Right.
you connect these dots.
Yeah. So about the men who feel underachieved, uh, you know, during the semi-retirement, I didn't wear a suit, so my neighbors thought I was unemployed. So like, I could really feel their like pitying eyes, like, "Oh, sorry, that you're not employed," and I feel like unemployed too, even though I had enough money. But like, I was feeling so bad in the middle of during the daytime. A lot of young guys like me working in a good suit, and I was just pushing the baby stroller. Like, I feel so miserable. So I understand what it was. So uh, you have to really cut yourself out from the standard of society worthy system, because unless you cut off yourself from judging other people or being judged, you lose peace of mind so easily, and then that disturbs your mind, and that leads to depression. So I think you really have to make your own rules of finding happiness, no matter what. And then about work, it doesn't really matter how much money you make, but you have to be peaceful with how you work. And it's about energy. My second book is about happy work, but um, you have to have an energy you like while you work. When you think about the quality of your work or life in general, it's the energy you have around you. That's why happy money is super important. Happy money is money that gives you joy, and happy work is also something that gives you joy and sense of accomplishment. It doesn't have to be a huge success, but you have to feel successful inside. At least you're contributing to the world. And the feeling is what counts. It's nothing outside. It's inside job. So you don't have to, you know, go with a society scale. You have to feel peaceful. That's more like Zen to me. And if you can find peace and happiness within you, it doesn't really matter how much you think.
It's so fascinating to me to have a conversation about peace, happiness, and money. It's
Yes,
just not a
that's my
conversation you hear very often.
okay. That's my forte.
Yeah. So let's say I was skeptical. I'm actually not.
Yes.
Let's just say I was
Uh-huh.
skeptical. I go, Ken,
Sure.
what are you freaking talking about here, buddy?
Yeah.
What does peace and happiness have to do with money?
Mm-hmm.
As a matter
So
of fact, most of the people you hear about with lots of money are,
yeah,
these evil characters on Wall Street or evil
yeah.
characters in Silicon Valley or, these Darth Vader-y type dudes doing Darth Vader-y type shit.
Yeah. Yeah, there are two kinds of happy, wealthy people: happy wealthy people and unhappy wealthy people. The happy wealthy people are the ones who made their money by doing what they love. So they already enjoy, then money followed them. So, if you have a choice, which course would you take? Doing what you love and the money follows you, or just doing what you don't like and money, there may be money or may not be. So I recommend that doing what you love in your life, because that gives you a lot of energy, and that gives you the most chance to be able to succeed in life too. If
But
you
what if I
just
say, hey, I love to surf,
Mhm.
but I'm never going to be a professional surfer.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to be paid to surf for a living, but I'm not good enough to make it to the pros. So, what do I do,
Yeah.
Ken? How do I connect these dots?
Yeah, if you're a singer, it's the same thing. I love singing, but if other people don't like you singing, it's a hobby. So, if it's a hobby, that doesn't
And in
take
the
you
case of
anywhere.
singing, maybe it's one you should only do in your house or your car.
Yeah, yeah, because otherwise it's a nuisance, right? But what interesting thing is that there must be something else. And I have a friend who wanted to do cooking, but that wasn't his profession, right? He was a IT engineer. But in my seminar, I talk about follow your heart. So he came up with cooking, but he wasn't becoming a chef, right? So, but he took a cooking lesson, and then he met this business partner in this cooking class. So, if you do follow your heart, that will lead you to the way. So if you like surfing, go surf, but don't just stay in water, because you might bump into somebody who's going to invest in you. So you have to find some other things too. And if you combine what you love and the second love and the third love, you find something else. That's what life is, so full of mystery. It's not that simple. Go surf and make a lot of money. It doesn't go that way. But if you love singing, if you go to karaoke, you might bump into an investor for the future. So, follow your heart no matter what. And then, but you have to be open to other opportunities. And you have to be realistic about your gifts of surfing and singing and cooking. Because, what I found out is that you can't make a profession out of one gift. There has to be a combination of many gifts. And if you are good at one thing and do it with other things, that's usually when you find the golden profession for you.
Ken, I just think you shared something that's so freaking important.
Hmm.
When people, particularly for those of us who haven't found our thing, but even, for myself, I felt like I found my things a long time ago, but you're so right that life is often the result of wonderful serendipity.
Yes.
And you say, well, but how can you make that happen? And I've never quite heard somebody put it as simply and clearly as you just did. I go to
Uh-huh.
things that interest me, that I'm passionate about, that I follow my heart. And even if I'm not ever going to be making a living as a singer or a surfer,
Hmm.
your point, maybe I bump into somebody in the water, or
Yes.
maybe I meet, a wonderful surf shaper, or
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing I love about what you said, combine multiple of them.
Yes.
And in
You know,
that way, and this is the question, I wonder if this is where you're going with this line of thinking. You're
mhm.
sort of taking responsibility for engineering a little bit more of that wonderful serendipity.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've written actually about 10 books on this, you know.
Of
Uh,
course you have, Ken.
it's going to come out in English a little later. But to give you the preview, uh, you know, life guides you to all the fun, interesting way. One of my students was an insurance salesperson. He loves dogs, and dogs love him. You know, those people, when you take a walk, dogs just jump on him, and then
Yeah.
he's like that. And one time he was doing a cold calls to in homes, and then there was like a house, big house, says what, you know, beware of dogs. And then he's a German Shepherd, and then he loved dogs, so he goes in and just hugged the dog. So the owner came out and just super surprised because he wasn't barking at him. And then she thought he's a good man, so she invited him into her house, and she found out that her dog loves this guy, so she trusted him immediately, and she got a contract, and she's like a boss in the neighborhood, and she introduced her neighbors, and she got the top salesperson. He became the top salesperson, and after that, he got this idea of clients who love dogs. So he does a lot of events around dogs, and then all his clients get introduced by him. And what he does is just enjoying dogs, and then he becomes a best-selling, top insurance salesperson, and ended up being a $1 million table. But just loving dogs and being loved by dogs doesn't give you millions of dollars, right? But if you combine with sales, you can make a lot of money. So I have all the fun stories, and I've written so many books on this, but it's going to come out hopefully soon. So I teach people not only happy money, but how to combine your gifts and how to make a career out of it. That way is a shortest cut to financial independence, and that's what I teach in
Wow.
Japan and hopefully in the world.
Well, maybe when that book comes out in English, I'd love to have
Yes.
you back, Ken. You are an absolute gem of a human being.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I really enjoy sharing this because I've made so many millionaires and people, not necessarily millionaires, but who are comfortable with money. And once you have this beautiful relationship with money, you start following your heart. And that is the most important thing. You don't have to be a super millionaire, but if you make a living out of what you love and spend time with your family, that's a beautiful life. So I recommend everybody to transform your relationship with money and just start living your life.
Amen. Hallelujah, Ken.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to touch on?
So once again, I just want to say, to have happy money, it doesn't cost you anything. Arigato your money. Thank your money when it comes in, and it goes out. When you spend it, also say thank you, because you get something, goods or services, by with your money. So you're getting something with your money. So there's a reason to appreciate that you're paying to the money. So appreciate money always, and you'll realize, you'll be amazed that you forget to worry about money and life. So be in gratitude, and you'll be in heaven.
I love it. And, one of the things, I forget if it was in the book or maybe in a podcast, but
Mhm,
you definitely said it, if not wrote it. You told a
mhm.
story about someone in your life who was proclaiming their joy for paying taxes.
Yes, that's my mentor, Lochhead Takeda.
It is your mentor. Okay.
Yes,
And
yes.
I just thought because I bitch about taxes and how much
Uh-huh.
tax we pay. But when
Mhm.
I read you said that or heard you say that, I can't remember which, I thought, you know what? Um, look, I don't want to pay any a dime more in taxes than I need to. But to your point, you know what? I really appreciate it that when there's a problem in our neighborhood, the fire guys show up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fire service shows up. I really appreciate we generally have wonderful roads. I
Mm-hmm.
really, and you start to go through all of the things that our taxes pay for, right?
Yes.
And I appreciate the country that we live in. I appreciate the
Mm-hmm.
services that we have. I appreciate that I think most of us in our world are trying to be good people and benevolent people, and our taxes in general go to trying to make our world a place that works and that is a better place. Now, if you want to get into a conversation about how competent the government is at that, that's a whole other conversation. But what you gave me in that comment was, you know what? Paying your taxes, when you look at it that way, we want the benefits of the world that gets created as a result of the taxes.
Yes. So you can appreciate about anything. My mentor Lochhead said he is so happy to pay taxes because that means he had the money. He made all the money. And because of the tax office, his accounting system became sophisticated. So he had so many reasons to appreciate. So when it comes to paying bills, you can also appreciate it. When you write checks, you can say arigato, arigato, arigato while you write checks. Or thank you, thank you, thank you while you write checks. It gives you a good feeling because the money you're paying to the money is making somebody happy, and that gives you joy. So next time you have a hard time feeling happy about writing checks, just say thank you, thank you, thank you for giving me the opportunity to bless people with my money. That shifts your mindset so much, and you just find so much joy and happiness to write checks to anybody.
You're amazing, Mr. Honda.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for this time. As you can tell, I'm a huge fan. I love your work. I really appreciate that you took the time and the effort to teach yourself English, to teach yourself to write in English, and to write this book in English, so that you're no longer just a gem in Japan. You can be a gem elsewhere as well.
Thank you so much, Christopher. This is such a great opportunity, and what an honor to be able to be on your show. And this is such a joy for me to be able to share what I know, because not only helping me, but I help so many hundreds of thousands of people start living their life. And
Millions.
that way, we'll have a better place in the world, in the world.
Well, thank you, Mr. Honda, and you are welcome back anytime. Please, when your next book comes out, I'd love to have you back, and we can get more into how people really design their life and make a place in the world. It's one of my favorite topics.
I really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate it, brother.
Bye now.
There is the amazing Ken Honda on the podcast, or I should say, the Oddcast. I sure hope you loved that conversation as much as I did. Now, as you know, in business, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And today, more than ever, you want to stay on top of the seminal numbers that drive your growth. And that's where my friends at NetSuite come in. Imagine having every critical number you need to manage and grow your business on your smartphone, anytime, anywhere. You don't have to look stuff up. You don't have to call people. Just look at your phone. That's what NetSuite makes happen. With some awesome dashboards, you can stay on top of sales, finance, accounting, inventory, order management, cash flow, and even HR. Thousands of the best-known brands and a huge percentage of the companies going public use NetSuite to manage your business, and now it's available to you, and it's surprisingly cost-effective. Go to netsuite.com/different today. And while you're there, as a listener to this podcast, you'll be able to get a free 1-hour growth review with an expert in your industry. Check out netsuite.com/different today. Also, if you want to send us email, always happy to hear from you. blackhole@lochhead.com. And I would encourage you to go when you're at Lochhead.com to subscribe, because even if you subscribe to this oddcast on a major podcast player, we don't know you're there. So the only way we know you're there is if you subscribe on Lochhead.com. And here's the thing I'll tell you. Number one, we've been working hard to take our newsletter game up. So when we send you stuff, please know we think it's awesome. We think you're going to enjoy reading it. And it's not crapola. Number two, we will never, ever, ever sell your email address to anybody over my dead body. So go to Lochhead.com and hit that subscribe button. All right. We would like to thank this amazing new book by Ken Honda called Happy Money. Check it out wherever you pick up legendary books. Our good friends at onelifefullylive.org. Don't forget to go to onelifefullylive.org/clockhead to learn more about our conference in October in Long Beach, California. Niche Down, the #1 bestseller on Amazon.com by Heather Clancy and myself. Niche Down, How to Become Legendary by Being Different. Growwire.com. Learn how to grow yourself and your business. This is where entrepreneurs are checking cool stuff out on the internet. Check out growwire.com. Now, do you want the most important thing we all have back? Some time? Then why not check out my friends at You know what? If you're going to do a podcast or an oddcast for that matter, it's always good to know how to talk. Bottleneck Virtual Assistants. This is a great company run by a great group of folks that I know well. Why not leverage the power of a virtual assistant today at bottleneck.online? That's bottleneck.online. And if you, like me, live in beautiful Santa Cruz, California, why not take your fitness to the next level and train like it matters with me and all the other awesome people at ParadigmSport.com. That's ParadigmSport.com. All right, I need to remind you that this oddcast is a sole property of the Lochhead Oddcast Network, and we would love it if you shared the shit out of it. I haven't said much about this lately, but I do want you to know from the bottom of my heart, your word of mouth, your social shares, your telling people about what we're up to means the world to me. And whenever you do that, please know that myself and the about half a dozen folks that are involved with this oddcast appreciate it very much. All rights do remain disturbed. We must warn you that this oddcast is clearly produced in a studio that does contain nuts. Please teach people how to be happy with their money. Remember that going slow in the passing lane in many major states in the United States is illegal. So don't be lame. Get out of the passing lane. Listen to Van Halen. Do some thinking about thinking. Thank you so much, Candy Dandy. Love you, Mom and Dad. And hey, Colin, this oddcast really ties the room together, doesn't it? Today, our deepest apologies go to Dennis Muhlenberg, CEO of Boeing. Sorry, Dennis. We just ran out of time for you. That's it, my friends. Stay legendary. I really appreciate you investing part of your life with me. And until we're together again, follow your different.